Hey everybody, it is Steve with Kraken RC and I'm back with another video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about servos and why you should be interested in upgrading your servo. A lot of times people will ask us, what's the best thing that I can do to change the performance of my car? One of the overlooked things would be upgrading your electronics, specifically your servo. So changing the steering servo of your car is one of the best ways that you can change the way that your car drives and improve your durability, which is a great thing to have when you're out driving. Getting sidelined and having your day ended early because of a failure is never a fun thing to do. So what I'm going to show is a few different option servos and how you can install them into either your Kraken Vecta or your Kraken Vesla, as well as some other models. Knowing that steering servo upgrades are common, the Kraken RC Vecta and Vesla have a really intuitive design that make it easy to fit a variety of aftermarket servos. The stock radio box typically has the steering servo mount on these two tabs. These are actually designed to be trimmed off and flush so that you can use aftermarket servo mounts, much like these from Taylor RC, are designed to fit into pre-drilled locations, and they have a countersunk hole so that it is a nice flush finish. On this Vesla chassis, as an example, this is where the radio box typically fits, and it mounts down with 4 different screws. When you trim off those tabs for the steering servo mount, you end up using these 4 holes right here to mount those aftermarket billet servo mounts. So we're going to move over to the workbench where I can get a few detailed close-up pictures to show some of the ins and outs of these different servos. So as you're picking an aftermarket servo, there's a few things to keep in mind. The first is your mounting holes, so the distance from here to here, your depth, as well as your servo output spline. This is the Kraken TS560 HV servo. This is the servo that is now standard on our models. It replaced the now retired TS555 HV. We kept the same mounting dimensions from here to here, but what you'll notice is that the depth is a little more shallow on the TS560. Now, this doesn't change where the output of the servo is. That maintains the same distance. And that makes this servo compatible with these aftermarket mounts. Now these aftermarket servo mounts are a really nice design. They're very thoughtful. If you notice, this little pocket here is designed for your servo lead. So it has a nice spot to go without getting pinched. Now this size servo is the most common size that you'll find in large scale. This is the same size servo included in the Losi 5T, the Desert Buggy XL, and the steering of the HPI Baja. This size is also compatible in our Kraken Vesla and our Kraken Vecta. The best servos that we have found that fit right in place are the AGF RC servos. This particular model is the 78 kg version. There's a 100 kg version as well. The difference is the 100 kg has more torque. The 78 kg is a little bit faster. These are really nice servos. They are a brushless motor servo, making them incredibly strong. They are waterproof, and the entire case is billet machined aluminum. They are beautiful. They have a nice 15-tooth spline on the servo, so that means that these are a direct drop-in for the Kraken Vecta, the Kraken Vesla, Losi 5, and the Desert Buggy XL 2.0. Now this servo is slightly taller. When we place them side by side on the table, what you'll see is the mounting tab of the AGF RC servo is just a couple millimeters higher than something like the stock Kraken servo. What that means is in some cases, in some applications, you might need to put a couple of washers just underneath those mounting tabs to make sure that they're spaced appropriately. If you are using something like the Taylor RC aftermarket servo mount, there's no concern there. There's plenty of height. Other servos out there would be something like this Hi-Tech D845. These were a fairly popular servo for a time until something like the AGF RC had come out. These servos worked fairly well, but one of the problems is that these do not fit in all applications, and that is because these are quite a bit taller off of the deck compared to what is a standard size servo like a Losi 5T or Desert Buggy XL. So these, if we compare them side by side, these have about an 8mm difference. So that means that your output spline sits much higher, and that does change some things like the steering angle. The D845 is compatible with the Taylor RC servo mounts. So which servo should you pick up? The AGF RCs are top of the line. These are the best servos that you can get. We have had huge success with these, using them in big bore, big displacement, high power builds. I would consider using the 78 kg servo in something like a Vesla that's two-wheel drive. It's a little bit lighter weight. The 100 kg servo is definitely the move to go to if you're using a four-wheel drive model like a Losi 5T or the Kraken Vecta and Vecta trophy truck. The Taylor RC servo mounts, as you can see, they're really nicely packaged. They're beautifully machined. I already talked about the pocketing on the back for the one side. They also include these very nice servo clamps. They'll sit on top of the mounting tabs here so that they clamp down nice and even force. Hardware is included. These do say that they're for the Vecta and the Kraken Vecta trophy truck. These will also fit the Vesla. Another thing that they will also fit, these work on the Losi 5T. What you will have to do is you'll have to trim the servo mount off of the stock radio tray, and that exposes 4 holes in the chassis just like the Vecta and the Vesla, and these can bolt right in place. So that's an ideal upgrade